The creative mindset that has helped me the most is curiosity, not judgment. If you're a fan of Ted Lasso, you've already heard this phrase and have seen how Ted embodies being genuinely curious rather than jumping to cynicism and judgment. Unfortunately, many of us have been trained to jump straight into judgment. Judgment may have been modeled to us by the adults that raised us, and our curiosity may have been criticized and dismissed so many times that we now keep it to ourselves so we stay safe from others' judgment. More than likely, it's a mix of both. But I know there's still a curious mind in you. That's why you're here. Now, I want to be clear up front. Yes, there are times when we have to make a judgment call, quote unquote, or decisions. The curious mindset does not dismiss the need for decision making. However, we can improve how we make those decisions, and especially how we deliver those decisions to others. We ain't gotta be a-holes about what we choose, okay? No one likes a boss or a friend that's rude about it. And I hate that I even have to say this. There are some topics, situations, issues, where we should not be curious. We ain't out here getting curious about anything that would harm or oppress others, okay? That's not curiosity. That's judgment. You'll see why. But let's first dive into the curious mind. All right, dig deep with me. Back into the memory vault. Before the world told you you had to be, act, or look a certain way. Before anyone told you one career was supposedly better or more respectable than another. Before anyone suggested you were uncool for having a Hello Kitty contact case at a sleepover. Before all of that, we were born with curious minds. We asked questions without an agenda or a goal or a predetermined desired outcome. We simply wanted to know more. Our minds were open to exploration, infinite possibilities, and being fully immersed in the present moment, immersed in what we were experiencing and what others were experiencing alongside us. We didn't have to suspend disbelief because we wanted to know and believe. The curious mind wants to know more. The curious mind listens to what others have to say. The curious mind holds open discussions without striving towards a predetermined outcome. There's no ulterior motives. The curious mind isn't immediately concerned if there's a wrong answer or a right answer or a right answer. At its core, the curious mind is an inclusive and compassionate explorer. I like to say compassionate because it's a key part of constructive decision making. Being curious doesn't mean we don't have to make decisions. We still need to make those choices, but curious mind is flexible when considering all the options, solutions, and new approaches to problem solving. This flexibility of thinking is what lets our minds embrace and create something new and exciting. Okay, we've heard about the curious mind, but what about the judgmental mind? Before anyone feels too bad about themselves, just know everybody has been judgmental. It happens. I've done it. You've done it. The more important part is that we learn and move on from acting this way. When presented with a question or a challenge, judgy minds tend to jump straight to criticism and cynicism. The judgy mind may make statements exclusively about why something won't work. Judgy minds may have an answer or solution to a problem but are rigid and may act like there's no other possible way to solve the problem. This mindset may also assume that there's a right and a wrong way to answer open-ended questions. It's a very restrictive way to view the world. Unfortunately, I can guarantee everyone has experienced receiving judgment from someone living in this mindset. And we probably experienced it from a young age, both from adults and our peers. While we are curious as kids, we also don't know how to express opinions constructively or ask questions in a kind way. You may recall such classics as, "Ew, what you're eating looks so gross. Who even is that band? It sounds so weird. Why does your hair look like that? Why are you wearing a choker and eyeliner today? Are you like trying to be goth?" Okay, that last one might have been a little more specific than we needed to get. As we get older, the judgment can become harsher and more nuanced. The biggest danger of judgmental minds is oppression in all its terrible varieties. It can be as simple as being told one career or degree is more valuable or honorable than another. This seemingly simple judgment has led one too many people to subject themselves to years of work and study in industries that drain them and lead to burnout, depression, anxiety, all because of that one simple judgment that grew to dictate important life decisions. We haven't even touched workplace politics, social hierarchies, and inequity. The judgmental mind can create living nightmares if it goes unchecked. History has too many testaments to the damage of judgmental minds in power. Okay, we've gone over like a curious mind and a judgmental mind. So what do they kind of look like in the same scenario? Let's pretend we're restructuring a team at work. The team has grown, and where we originally only needed one manager, we now need another, specifically dedicated to running social media accounts. The judgy mindset may look at the managers available to fill the role and say something like, Carol can't lead this team. It'll never work because Carol doesn't oversee social media accounts. The judgy mind may operate in always and never statements, or make assumptions without discussion, and often phrases things like an executioner, as if it's the final end of conversation blow. A curious mind may sound more like this. I think Carol could be a good leader for this team. She doesn't currently oversee social media accounts, but we should ask her if she's interested in this position and learning the ins and outs of social media. For the curious mind, there's an implied what if. What if Carol wants to become a manager? What if Carol is willing to learn about social media? What if we actually talk to Carol instead of deciding for her? Curiosity seeks to include others instead of exclude. So how do we practice being curious? The main way that I try to practice being curious is probably pretty obvious at this point: asking questions. Genuine questions, not the snarky, sarcastic kind. If I don't fully understand another person's idea, I ask open-ended questions. I want to know more about what their intention was, what their thought process was, what their goal is, and I want to have a discussion with them so we can hone it and I can figure out how I can best help them bring it to life, or what kind of, edits or changes we need to make, so that way it becomes like a fully fledged idea that's super cool and awesome. If there's a scenario where I see potential issues in someone's approach, or I know that our client will have a question, I try to frame that issue or feedback as a question. For example, if I'm looking at a logo mark design, but I know the client will want a version with both the mark and the company name, I might say, oh, this logo mark design looks really cool. It's interesting for these reasons. Have you explored how to combine it with the company name? And that then leads to a discussion with the designers about what we need to do next, potential solves, and what the client is expecting. So framing feedback as a question also lets other people be a part of the conversation and consequently a part of the solution. Being curious is inclusive. I also try to notice when I'm feeling judgmental, hopefully before I say anything. This one takes some practice, but I believe in us. We can do it. That's why we're here. We're figuring it out. I'd like to be super specific here. I try to catch myself being judgmental in situations where it's not necessary for me to protect myself or others. The situations that aren't actually harmful and where we're supposed to be collaborative, like receiving feedback on work or coming up with a character concept for Dungeons & Dragons. For myself, I found judgment is often used as a survival mechanism. Feeling judgmental can be a reaction to first feeling vulnerable. It's a tightness in my chest. I might clench my jaw or my stomach may sink. It's a split-second switch from feeling vulnerable to feeling judgmental as a way to protect myself. Kind of a real-world example. Some of you will probably resonate with this. I remember in elementary school, I would draw cartoon characters all the time. Some of my friends really liked them and totally cool, but of course there's always going to be kids who didn't. And remember, I'm talking like we're 8 years old. We don't know nuance. We don't know how to frame feedback or receive it very well. I'd have a character with wings and blue hair, but someone would be like, that looks so weird. Why do you draw like that? Why do they have blue hair? What's up with the wings? Because it was framed in a way that was more judgmental, it felt like an attack. So my mind would think I'm in danger, even though I'm not actually in danger. And then my mind would be like, we need to attack back by also judging them as a way to protect myself. So you can see how judgment and destructive criticism can become a cycle. I feel attacked by you, so I attack you, then you attack me, and I attack you, and it goes on until one of us finally breaks the loop. We may also be prone to feeling judgmental when we're tired, burnout, anxious, or depressed. We don't have the mental and emotional energy to be curious, so our minds take the path of least resistance and the least amount of effort, which is being judgmental. Being judgmental shuts down the situation faster, so we can preserve what little energy we have left. Low-key, being judgmental is actually way more exhausting than being curious. There's a lot of terrible fallout that we deal with from being judgmental, and being judgmental just sets up new situations that are also continuously exhausting because now everybody expects you to be judgmental, and maybe they stop coming to you for things. And that might seem nice in the short run if you're tired and burnt out, but it's gonna feel real bad later on when you're not being included or people are avoiding you. Yeah, there's just like a lot of fallout from being judgmental. Okay, let's wrap it up. Ask questions. Try and include a what-if statement beforehand if that helps you get into the mindset of exploring new possibilities. Also, we're gonna become a little self-aware, which is good, but it could be tough in the beginning, about when we're becoming judgmental, because the first step in becoming curious is to notice where we consistently judge ourselves or others, and then we can work to kind of like course correct it. Curiosity is inclusive, it's exploratory, it really is just way more fun, quite frankly. When you start to like get into the groove and you learn how to do it, you start to see how many possibilities open up for you by being curious rather than being judgmental. Okay, so before I start rambling too much, good luck, have fun, get weird, and how do you practice curiosity? I hope you stick around so that way we can all figure this creativity thing out together, and let me know what helps you in the comments. Okay, bye!